that is. The Up an Octave Challenge featuring DeMarius Jackson. What's going on, everybody? Chris G here from PositivelyProgressing.com. Thank you so much for tuning in and for your continued watching habits. Today I have a very special guest, my pal and fellow YouTuber DeMarius Jackson. Go show him some love on his channel, go subscribe, go watch his videos. He's got some great content. Today he's going to be helping us out with a really cool challenge called the Up an Octave Challenge. Not only is DeMarius a great saxophonist, he's also a great instrumentalist. When he's not practicing his instruments, he's just juggling them all. So for any of you saxophone players out there looking to improve your altissimo game and to start adding vocabulary up in the altissimo range, this is a must-watch for you. Take it away, D.
What's up, everybody? I'm DeMarius Jackson. First of all, I want to say thank you to my man Chris G for having me on his channel to do this challenge. I'm so excited to get to the lesson, so without further ado, let's get started. So I think we'll call this the Up an Octave Challenge. So the whole premise of this is a way for you to practice your altissimo. Now, me personally, I have a couple of different things that I do that involve playing major scales, arpeggios, to really gain dexterity up in that third octave of the saxophone. But one thing in particular that I really enjoy doing is playing standards up an octave. One, I can already kind of hear where the standard is, and it also gives me the opportunity to play more melodic things up an octave rather than always running scales and arpeggios. So for this challenge, we're going to use the tune Well You Needn't. I'm going to go through all the fingerings that I use to kind of navigate through this standard, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and we'll both all learn something on the way. So with Well You Needn't, the form is pretty simple. Once you learn the beginning half and the bridge, you pretty much know the whole tune. So what I like to do is obviously play it down in the normal octave and then figure out what fingerings that I don't know, that I need to know, and then I'll go from that process to figure out the most efficient fingerings. So basically, those altissimo notes are going to be F sharp, we'll call that altissimo. Most horns nowadays have the extra key, but it's altissimo for me. A, and then high C to G. So for F sharp, let's do it this way. I'll show you the fingerings that I use. For F sharp, we're just going to call this 1, 2, and 3 in my left hand and 1, 2, and 3 in my right hand, just for ease of recognition. So for F sharp, though, I'm using fork F, so it's going to be our fourth key, the C, octave key as well. So kind of like we're playing a high F, and then I add this bottom B flat right here. And then for A, what I like to use is 2 and 3 in my left hand, and 1, 2, and 3 on my right. And sometimes I'll put down this B flat if it's a little sharp, but most of the time I try to just use 2 and 3 in my left hand, and 1, 2, and 3 in my right. And here's a little bit of the tricky part. For high C and high G, I use the same exact fingering. So I use 1 and 3 in my left hand and 1 and 3 in my right hand. Now, the way that we're going to get this to work is by using voicing. So basically, we're going to manipulate our tongue position. For me, I think of more of myself saying E, ah. So those slight differences between me saying E and ah, if you notice, your tongue moves ever so slightly in between. It's going to differ for every musician, but you should experiment with what works for you. And one reason that I love to use this tune, because it has that little jump from high C to high G, is a really good training tool to perfect where your tongue needs to be to alternate between the high C and then that G. Honestly, a lot of times I have like many different fingerings for G, but it differs from song to song which one I use. With enough practice, it'll become intuitive for you. So let's just go through that first little phrase. And honestly, once you have that, the only other jump as far as the A section of well you need and that you should concern yourself with is going from G, the high G, to the E flat. And once again, for those fingerings, for the G to E flat, I use 1 and 3 and 1 and 3, the same one that I used for before, just to make it a little simpler. So the first 4 bars of the B section aren't too difficult, but I really like to concentrate on using good finger technique and trying to keep my fingers as close to the keys as possible. So let's move on to the next 4 bars, which are a little bit trickier. Alright, so for that F sharp, it's going to be the same one that I used before, fork F, octave key, and then our bottom B flat here. And then for that G, it's the same one as before. We're using 1 and 3 and 1 and 3. And now we can move on to something a little bit different. So we go from E flat to our A flat. So for A flat, I use 1 and 3, 1 and 3, and side C here. So once again, 1 3 1 3 side C. And then the rest of the fingerings are exactly as I used before. So I'll be completely honest, it took me a little bit of time to get that under my fingers, but with a little bit of slow and deliberate practice, I promise these things will get much, much easier for you as you go along. So there you have it. Let's go ahead and play that with the backing track to see what it all kind of sounds like. And once again, this is a great tool because a lot of times these tunes and these standards that you know down packed are already in your ear, and you can kind of get a better feel for intonation and where your finger should go and altissimo and all that good stuff.
Again, huge thanks to DeMarius Jackson for helping us out with today's lesson. That was an excellent lesson. I got a lot from it. I hope you did as well. Please, again, go subscribe. Go show him some love on his channel. I put a bunch of links below, so very easy to find. So that'll do it for today. So just remember, always positive, always progressing. Until next time, later.